quarterback Heinrich Haarberg's comments illustrate why hiring a QB coach makes some sense. And Haarberg was on the Doug and Daddy show out in Kearney with our good friend Doug Duda for an extended 30-minute interview, and you wrote about it, Sip, this week. What were your impressions?
Well, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of talk, speculation that Rule might change up his staff a little bit, and everybody's talking about is the possibility of Marcus Satterfield. Marcus Satterfield's the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. There's speculation, there's talk that Matt Rule might remove the quarterback coaching duties from Satterfield and hire a designated quarterbacks coach. And it was interesting, at the very tail end of this 30-minute interview, Haarberg addressed it. It was and he said, like, he's had it both ways at Nebraska. Remember in 2021, he was a redshirt when Nebraska had Mario Verduzco, who was a dedicated quarterbacks coach, just solely dedicated to tutoring quarterbacks. The next 2 seasons, he had it the other way, where he had an offensive coordinator who also had the quarterbacks coach's duties, and then Mark Whipple, and then Marcus Satterfield. And he said there's a difference. He said there's a good and bad to both sides. He said when the offensive coordinator is your position coach, you know the playbook pretty well. You know what he wants you to execute, how he wants you to do it. But at the same time, you spend a lot of time working on that side. Whereas with Coach Verduzco, he wrote a thesis paper on quarterback mechanics. So you spend a lot of time on the field just working on throwing motion. He said it twice for emphasis. And he said that's originally why I came to Nebraska. So it is you've covered Nebraska football for a long time. And we've seen various quarterback coaches at Nebraska over the years, and some work on mechanics more than others. It's true. And when you have a dedicated quarterbacks coach, you're going to work on mechanics more. And with a guy like Heinrich, who completed 49% of his passes this year, 5-3 as a starter, completed 49% of his passes, could use probably some work on his mechanics. And not just now, I don't know what Satterfield would say to this discussion, but that's what Heinrich said. He said there is a difference.
Well, a lot of things got thrown off by just Jeff Sims not being what they thought either.
Right.
I mean, if Jeff Sims would have been the guy we thought he'd be, maybe Dylan Raiola is not even here right now.
Yeah.
Sims is coming back another year.
Yeah, you're right.
And we're not even having this discussion. But because Jeff Sims was historically bad at Nebraska as far as his numbers.
Yeah, as far as
and you can't argue that because it was historically bad numbers.
Yeah, I'm not arguing.
I'm not anybody. I'm just that kind of threw things into this tailspin. Where do you think they ever thought in a million years that Heinrich Haarberg was going to be a starter for 8 games?
I would say no.
I don't think so.
No, he was co-number 2 going into the season, but no, I don't think they would have thought that. They thought Jeff Sims would be their guy.
Oh, and even then, Chubba had more tools and ability. Like Chubba is showing his ability and talent in the portal right now. Cal and TCU are 2 of the teams that have offered him.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
I did find it interesting that both Cal and San Jose State have offered. I mean, it's almost like they're trying to create the Purdy package there in the Bay Area.
Yeah, I think he benefits. I mean, his numbers aren't that good. I mean, Chubba himself in a late season press conference just said, I didn't play that well here, but it's about learning and growing and improving. And that's what he's going to have to do.
And how many of these teams can offer him a clear road to be their number one? That we don't know that.
Yeah.
And, Boise State was thought to be the team.
Yeah.
Now, he hasn't publicly acknowledged a Boise State offer.
Mm-hmm.
But, when he went into the portal, that was initially the place that we had heard that he was looking at to go.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see where it all heads out here in January.
So should Nebraska try to add another? That's the question.
We've had this discussion a little bit already, and I just don't know who that is.
Right.
Like, can you convince somebody in here that's not going to that knows what their role is going to be?
Right. I mean, you have to get like we've said it. You have to get somebody who's good, but not too good. And it's tricky. It's tricky to find that guy. there's one other thought I have that I've said this, and it just goes over people's heads. So maybe I don't explain it well enough. When I'm reading about Florida State, I'm thinking more and more in this volatile quarterback world, where because of transfer portal, the quarterback position is so volatile. I'll tell you one thing I would be doing if I were a head coach, Sean. I'd be making sure that I have a good walk-on or two in the program. Florida State is going to play Georgia in the Orange Bowl with a freshman scholarship quarterback, Brock Glenn. Okay. If Brock Glenn goes down, they're going to a walk-on. There's 2 walk-ons behind him. They got, because Tate Rodemaker went into the transfer portal, left them kind of in a bind for Georgia. They're a injury away from having a walk-on play against Georgia. At Nebraska, it's not a far-flung notion for that to happen, where this year you had 3 guys have to play the position. This coming season, you have 3 scholarship quarterbacks. It's not beyond the realm of possibility that you would have a walk-on playing a critical role. Now, you would say, Sipple, what's the big deal? I'll tell you the big deal. It's more volatile than it's ever been at that position. I would make sure I got a good walk-on in there. Like they've had Jack Woke, and Nebraska's had Jack Woke, and I don't know who else.
Luke Longbell.
Yeah. Now, it's hard. I know it's challenging. You could say, well, how do you do that? How do you, well,
like you try to find like the ultimate version of a Noah Vedral.
Yeah. The ultimate version of
Noah Vedral scholarship technically, but
Andrew Bunch. He started.
How about Riker Fife?
Yeah. How about Riker Fife? That's a good one. Yeah. Bunch started against Troy. He started a game.
He had to, because Noah Vedral wasn't cleared.
Right.
And Jebbia left.
Yeah. They were in a spot.
Now, okay, I'm going to throw a name out for a guy they could look to bring in, and I don't know if this would work, but Jake Garcia, former Miami and Missouri quarterback, his dad, Randy Garcia, played for Nebraska in the 70s under Tom Osborne. What about a guy like Jake Garcia from Missouri?
Yeah.
Now, out of high school, Garcia was highly recruited. I mean, he was one of the top quarterbacks in the country. But I always remember, and Mike Mattia, the late Mike Mattia, are great. He had a great rapport interviewing Jake back then, with his connection to Nebraska. Is that a guy that would come, or did he leave Missouri in Miami? I would assume, because he wants to start somewhere.
Probably. Yeah. It'd be hard to get him. Again, it's difficult. It's challenging.
He was the number 10 ranked quarterback in the country coming out of high school.
Yeah. I'm just telling you, you look around, the volatility of that position and the way kids are thinking now. I mean, you got to be ready at all times for massive movement in that room.